Good morning. Happy Sunday, fun day. Welcome on into Let's Bet It, presented by Superbook Sports. Lauren Jabara here with Jared Smith. We got week 7 of NFL today. A lot of football games on the slate. Gerard, how's your weekend going so far?
Yesterday was okay. Didn't do great overall, but some of my bigger wagers came home. Nailed the Oregon game, nailed the LSU game. Shout out, Mark Zinno had the Clemson game right, even though I Clemson with 4 turnovers. That game should have played out very differently. But yeah, it was a good day. How about yourself?
It was good. I had an off day. First one in a really long time. No Hawks.
Good for you.
No Pickswise. I just sat there and watched college football, which was amazing. Wow. But yeah, ready to
Wait,
get
you didn't
back
take a
at
trip
week.
to like Bora Bora or something? Usually when you're off, you're just
honestly was so tired I could not move off my couch. I needed a day.
Good for you.
Oh, I got my hair done, so that was nice.
I should have noticed. I'm
fall.
sorry.
We're feeling good.
I should have noticed that.
But yeah, ready to get back at it. Week 7 of NFL today, wrapping it up with a bow tomorrow. We got some Hawks games this week. They're playing the Charlotte Hornets at 5 p.m. Eastern tonight, so that's going to be fun. So yeah, lots to talk about, though. Lots to get into today. So let's get right into it. Let's bet it. Week 7 injury updates that we have going on right now. We're not going to talk too much about the Russell Wilson update until the next section where we get into line movements, but he's going to be out this week, ruled out with a hamstring injury against the Jets. We'll get into that in a second. We have Carson Wentz, finger. He's on injury reserve, broke his finger. Taylor Heineke comes on in, gets that start under center. Do you think that Taylor Heineke is going to make a difference for this Commanders team, or does it not really matter who's under center at this point?
Really tough to gauge the volatility with this quarterback situation. Carson Wentz obviously hasn't been fantastic. We saw Taylor Heineke last year, very different quarterback. Doesn't have the arm strength, doesn't really have the mobility, I think, but maybe runs the offense a little more efficiently. So maybe you'll see less downfield throws, more dinks and dunks. Brian Robinson Jr. and Antonio Gibson will likely be heavily involved. The other big injury here is Jahan Dotson's out with a hamstring injury. Same thing with Logan Thomas. Sam Cosmi, who's been fantastic at right tackle, also questionable. So there's a lot of offensive injuries for the Commanders in this game that are clearly going to affect their efficiency. The one good news for them is they're facing the Packers defense, but it's the Packers defense that's coming off of an embarrassing loss to the Jets. So yeah. I would expect a little more effort on the Packers defense today. And this is a road game. It's in D.C., so we'll see, what the crowd and the turf in that stadium can be a little bit mushy at times. I bet the under in this game. I put it out in the column this week. It was the only total bet that I wrote up for the column. I got 41.5, and I was a little surprised this morning once Dotson and, Wentz were confirmed. Wentz was confirmed out, I think it was yesterday or on Friday, that we didn't see a little more movement to the under. So I think the total was fully baked in that Heineke was going to be out. And even with Dotson out, no movement to the under. So you can still get under 41.5 if you want it right now. That's my position for this game.
We got a lot of hamstrings this week because Darren Waller also out with a hamstring week 7. He will not play against the Texans. How does that impact that game? And does it move the line at all?
No, absolutely not. He hasn't played much this year, and he hasn't really been effective at all this year. Hunter Renfrow also questionable. That's a big one. So you've got 2 pieces for this Raiders offense questionable. But let's be honest. To me, this game comes down to, can the Raiders run the ball on this bad Texans defense, and can the Texans do anything offensively? They've got a couple injuries as well. Nothing major. Actually, they're pretty healthy. The Texans come into this game relatively healthy. And I would say the Raiders are pretty healthy too. Again, Waller hasn't had a massive impact this year on any games. I don't know what's been going on with him. He's been kind of lying in the weeds, not really doing a whole lot. So I don't think it's going to have an impact. Again, he's only had 16 receptions all season. So I don't really want to say that his absence will have a major impact on this game.
Two people's absence that did have a big impact on the 49ers the last couple of weeks, left tackle Trent Williams with the ankle and Nick Bosa with the groin, both removed from the injury report in week 7. They're both going to be playing against the Chiefs. That's a big, big factor for this 49ers team heading into this weekend, or heading into today, I guess.
Yeah, I really like this Niners injury report, the way it's kind of, shaped out here. You've got the two secondary pieces, Ward and Hufanga, questionable still, but everyone else seems to be up. Jimmy Ward, the corner, huge piece. He's going to play with, I think, like a club on his hand. He's got a broken hand. So we'll see if he can't catch any interceptions, but at least he's on the field. And again, when you're facing Patrick Mahomes, I think that's important. And, the linebackers have graded out, fantastically in coverage this year. The Niners defense with D'Amico Ryans has been really good. So how they defend Travis Kelce, how they kind of bottle up this Chiefs offense is going to be fascinating. And you mentioned, Trent Williams on the left side is just a road grader. He's the best tackle in the league. I think him and Andrew Thomas have graded out the best. So to have him back, McGlinchey also on the right side is back. So you've got both bookend tackles back for the Niners. You've got Bosa back. You've got the secondary a little more healthy than it was last week, and they're coming off of a loss. And they've got Christian McCaffrey kind of sprinkled into the mix. I wrote up Niners +3 for the site, and I got that bet very early in the week. It's not available now, so I don't feel, it's disingenuous to give that bet out now. And I don't know if I would play this at the current price of 1, but I do think the Niners are live in this game. And it's really not an underdog situation anymore. I mean, the Chiefs are favored by a point, so I can't really call it an underdog. But I think the Niners are very live in this game. Kansas City is one of the most publicly bet teams of the week. You get the reverse line movement factor as well. But again, I just think it's the health for this Niners team that is now trending in a positive direction, why you should keep a very close eye on San Francisco today.
That's going to be a fun game to watch today. There's a lot of line movement, though, that I'm seeing for some of these games. First of all, the Buccaneers, were laying 10. Now they're laying 13 against the Panthers. A lot of that probably has to do with the loss of Christian McCaffrey to, guess what, also the 49ers, which is another big addition to their team this weekend, going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. But the Bucs laying 10 to now laying almost 2 touchdowns. Jared, what are you seeing from that?
Yeah, not only McCaffrey, you take the best player on the team and you remove him.
Yeah.
But C.J. Henderson, concussion protocol, Dante Jackson, ankle, J.C. Horn, ribs. Those are corners. Those are secondary pieces, all questionable today. That's huge. You're facing a Bucs offense that is coming off a game against the Steelers where they not only lost, but they had the most asinine game plan ever. The Steelers were in the same situation last week. I believe they had 3 starters in the secondary out, and Byron Leftwich, let's just run into the line 20 times. Wasn't successful. When they decided to pass the ball, very successful. They just didn't pass it enough. My guess is they were reading all the press clippings this week that I was reading, and they probably aren't going to implore the same strategy. I'm assuming we see a lot of – now Julio Jones is out. That's not a surprise, but that's kind of been the bugaboo for this Bucs offense is getting him healthy. But they still have Mike Evans healthy. They still have Godwin healthy. They still have Russell Gage. So I think we're going to see a very active Bucs offense today, pushing the ball deep down the field. The line movement has reflected that. Would I lay 13 in a game with a total of 39? No. But I would be surprised if we did not see a rejuvenated, explosive, aggressive Bucs offense today with Tom Brady at the helm. If not, if they struggle in this game, then we can really start to raise the alarm.
They're not going to struggle in this game. They are not.
We didn't think they were going to struggle last week. They ended up losing outright.
Tom Brady has only had 13 two-game or greater losing streaks in his entire career. I don't think he's going to lose a game to the Panthers here. They might struggle a little. Who knows? But I honestly would not bet against an angry Tom Brady coming off of a game where people are saying he's not invested in their football team. He's going to want to prove them wrong. He's going to want to prove his teammates wrong. I think he's going to come out, and I think they're going to crush by like 3 touchdowns or more. I'm not betting this game. I'm staying far, far away from it. It's not actually one of the games I'm most excited to watch this weekend. I am a little bit excited, though, to watch the Jets going up against the Broncos. The Broncos were laying 3. Now that line is completely flipped. The Jets now laying a point in this one. No Russell Wilson, obviously. That has a lot to do with that line movement. But do the Broncos actually play possibly an exciting game this weekend? Or how do we feel about the Jets going for their 4th consecutive win?
It's wild, actually. I didn't realize they've won 3 in a row. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So the irony is, and I'm not going to call him Mark Rippon again and have Tank like text me about, getting my Rippons confused. I don't know if you guys watched Pickswise Playbook this week, but I confused Mark and Brett Rippon, and then I foolishly asked Tank if he played with Mark Rippon, and that did not go over well. So the Jets injury report this week, besides my boy Elijah Moore, who's just he's just going AWOL. Pretty healthy. Jets come into this game pretty healthy. Offensive line looks good. Jermaine Johnson's out, but he hasn't played much this year. But pretty much the entire Jets team is healthy, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
They look like a team that, again, they've won 3 games in a row. They're playing some pretty good football right now, even though, some of those, you could poke some holes in some of those wins, but it doesn't matter. They won the game. The Broncos are really banged up. First of all, they played on Monday, so short week. Secondly, Josie Jewell, huge piece stopping the run, questionable inside linebacker with a knee injury. You got DJ Jones, their nose tackle, who's been really good this year, stopping the run. Ankle injury, questionable. One of their starting guards, Quinn Murner, is also questionable with a foot injury. And then, of course, the Russell Wilson hamstring injury, he is out. So you do have Brett Rippon starting today. But the irony is Brett Rippon's made 1 start in the National Football League against the Jets. It was a win. So I kind of like Denver in this spot. I know this sounds crazy, but I feel like Brett can't play any worse than Russell. And I think it's the Broncos defense that really is going to control the tempo here. And we'll get to it in a second, but this has become, now that the line is flipped, a really good teaser spot for Denver. You get them through 3 and 7, and a very low total. Look at the total. It's 37. Might be the lowest total of the season in the NFL. Yeah. So be weary of the Jets' magic, because they do have this magic aura about them. But as a kid growing up, I remember painfully watching my Jets go into Mile High in the winter of 1998. Keith Byers fumbled on the goal line, and Jets could have went to the Super Bowl, but instead it was John Elway and the Broncos that went. And there's just something about Denver that doesn't sit well with me as a Jets fan, and I think there's a little Jets curse, a little gangrene curse there in the Mile High City. So I would not be surprised if the Broncos won this game, and I think a teaser is a very ideal situation for Denver now that the line's flipped.
I don't know what's happening in the Big Apple, but I'm still on the Jets and I'm still on the Giants heading into this week. Money line, let's go, baby. I'm all about the teams in the Big Apple. I root for an underdog. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Jets going for
Jets aren't an underdog this week.
I know, now not anymore, but I'm taking the favorite then. Let's go. Maybe it's not
there you
the
go.
contrarian play, but it's okay. Okay, the last one I want to talk about, line movement, Dolphins. Obviously, Tua Tagovailoa making his return after that brutal concussion back, 4 weeks ago. The lines moved from 6.5 to now 7.5 against the Steelers. I was looking up some stats. The Dolphins, with Tua Tagovailoa under center, they're scoring about 28 points per game. Without him, about 16 points per game. That's a 12-point difference with Tua on the field and off the field. Is that part of the reason why we've seen some of this line movement? Because it moved pretty early in the week.
Yeah, this has been interesting. I honestly, I think the only angle that I really like here is the over. And that's because I think the Steelers secondary is still very banged up. I'm seeing a bunch of their corners that were out last week are still either doubtful or questionable. And you're right. You're getting Tua back. And this Dolphins defense has not been that aggressive as they usually are. They've been, and it's because they're having some issues in the secondary as well. Byron Jones still out. Xavier Howard with the groin injury has been a shell of his former self. He didn't practice much this week. He definitely less than 100%. You do have Terron Armstead back. It looks like questionable with a toe injury. Actually, I don't know if he's back yet, to be fair, but you would hope that he comes back this week. That's a big piece on the left side of that offensive line. And then you get Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Looks like they're both healthy. Waddle practiced this week with a shoulder injury in limited capacity, and Tyreek Hill is not currently listed on the injury report. So let's add all these pieces together. You have the quarterback for Miami back. You have secondary issues in Pittsburgh. You have another week of preparation and comfortability with Kenny Pickett in this offense. And you got some issues on the Dolphins secondary as well. I just 44.5 seems like a very fair total here. And I could see this one. I could see this one having some juice to it. I really could. Brian Flores comes back. Steelers assistant coach. He's back in Miami this week. So there's going to be a little bit of juice to this game. There really will be. Pittsburgh off the win. Miami's played well, but 3-0, then 0-3. And, where are they really as a team right now? Are they a playoff team? Are they not? So this game is this is a very interesting primetime game. I'm very fascinated to watch this game. There's a lot of angles and edges and little mini storylines baked within this game that are very fascinating to watch. But to me, 44.5, I mean, the Dolphins have been an aggressive team on both sides of the ball. And when you're aggressive, that's when those big plays happen. So I think I'm going to get to the window on the over in this game once I see some final injury reports and some final, roster, active or non-active for some of these guys. But I'll tweet it out, or maybe I'll send it out later. But the over is definitely in play for me here.
Yeah, that actually is a really good look at that. And there are a lot of little storylines baked in. You said it, one of them being Brian Flores returning back to the mothership, the motherland. We'll see how that game plays out. Lots of different angles to look for today. We were going to do Let's Get It Proppin' with Bobby Stanley, Prop Holiday, but him and his wife just welcomed their brand new baby boy this weekend. So we want to give him a shout out. Congratulations, Prop Holiday, on his first child. Wife and baby, he said, are doing really, really well. So congratulations to him. He's taken the week for himself to be with his family, but we'll be chatting with him a lot heading into, I guess, week 9 is what it will be when he's back on the show. So let's get into Eye of the Beholder. We got 3 really exciting games, and they're probably like the only ones that I'm actually pretty excited to watch today. The first one being the Colts taking on the Titans. AFC South rivals going up against each other. This is the Colts' 5th divisional game in the first 7 weeks of the season. The two teams played back in week 4. The Titans had 3 sacks, an interception, a fumble recovery. Jonathan Taylor still a little bit banged up here. I feel like, Jared, and I don't know the same way, that this game is going to be resting on Matt Ryan's shoulders. Can he hold on to the ball? Can he protect the ball? Will the Colts be able to beat the Titans? The Titans, obviously, the favorites in this spot. They started 0-2, but now won 3 straight games, and they're coming off of a bye here in week 7.
Yeah, injury report huge here. Jonathan Taylor looks like he's good to go. Full participant Thursday and Friday in practice with the ankle injury. Nyheim Hines, full participant all week with the concussion. Colts backfield getting a little healthier. It's really the other side of the ball, frankly, that I'm concerned about. So Shaq Leonard continues to just, I don't know what's going on. He was a limited participant Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, full, still ruled out with the concussion. There's something going on there with Shaq Leonard. It's been multiple weeks now where he's practiced, and a lot of the experts and pros that I conversed with this week were very, I would say, not certain, but expecting him to play. And then all of a sudden, Friday, we get the alert that he's out. That's concerning. To me, the more concerning injury is Kwity Paye, who also was ruled out with an ankle injury on Friday. The reason why that's concerning is, I believe we talked about these numbers earlier in the week, but I'll rehash for our audience today. The Colts defense, since Kwity Paye's injury, which was Thursday night against the Broncos, the Thursday night game a couple weeks ago, before the injury, they were allowing 3.1 yards per rush on 133 carries with 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
After the injury, double that, more than double, 7.2 yards per rush, 44 carries. Small sample, but you could see the production dramatically increase on the ground running the football with Kwity Paye out. Well, what does Tennessee do? What is their calling card? Running the ball down your throat with Derrick Henry. That is a very concerning injury in this game. That being said, everybody's betting Tennessee this week. It's the biggest liability that I can tell besides the other game, which we'll get to during play of the day. And it looks like this one's going to be one of those pros versus Joes kind of game where the public's going to be very heavy on the Titans, and the sharp money, from what I see, is going to still come on the Colts, despite that very difficult injury for Kwity Paye. That being said, I'm going to be neutral on this one. I have some people that I trust, that I like, that I respect, that are very high on Indy, but I don't fully trust the handicap without Kwity Paye and Shaq Leonard on defense for the Colts. I think the Colts are the quote-unquote sharper side. Doesn't mean anything once the game starts, but you take that information for what it is.
Yeah, the Titans are 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 meetings. Everyone on Tennessee's side, they're laying 2.5 points, just under a touchdown here, and that total is set at 41.5. The game that I am extremely excited to watch this weekend is the Chiefs in San Francisco, the Bay Area, taking on the 49ers. The Chiefs are the favorites here in this spot, but both teams wanting to bounce back at this point. The Chiefs lost to the Bills last week in what was an exciting game. It almost seemed like whoever had the last possession in that game was going to win, but Patrick Mahomes had that last interception that kind of sealed the game for the Buffalo Bills. The 49ers lost to what no one expected, the Atlanta Falcons, who right now are 3-3 to start the season. They're tied for the top of the division with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the 49ers, the most worrisome thing about that is they were shut out completely in the second half. They only had 50 yards on the ground. Jimmy G had 2 interceptions. This game is going to be exciting, but it's hard for me, Jared, to see the Kansas City Chiefs losing 2 in a row with such an elite quarterback like a guy like Patrick Mahomes, even with the new additions of Christian McCaffrey and guys coming off of the injury list. How are you leaning in this game?
Yeah, I wrote up Niners for the site earlier this week. At 3, I was literally running to the window on Wednesday or Thursday. I forget which day. Once we heard that initial injury report about Trent Williams and Joey or Nick Bosa. I forget which Bosa. I think it's Nick.
Nick Bosa.
Thank you very much. Once I heard that they were both practicing and it looked like trending towards playing, I knew this line at 3 would not last long. It moved to 2.5, moved to 2. Then Thursday night late, we heard the McCaffrey news. We heard the news that he would play. And now we're kind of sitting there at basically a pick'em. I'm seeing one book hang 1.5, but at the Westgate Superbook, it's 1. I think we're kind of at the point where the value's been sucked out of this market. I can cap this game till I'm blue in the face. I think the injuries were the most important part of the handicap. We know those injuries now. We don't know how healthy some of the secondary pieces and how Trent Williams and Bosa will look, but they're going to play. And so the preconceived notion going into this game is positive for San Francisco. We'll see how it starts when they're actually out there and Mahomes is doing his thing. I agree with your sentiment that it's hard for me to get to a place in my mind where I see Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs losing 2 straight games. But the Niners are coming off of one of those losses too, and I hold them in pretty high regard. So this is a fascinating game. I am excited to watch this game. I do not have a wager on it besides my little ticket on Niners +3, which, again, I don't really feel – I can't give that out right now because it's long gone. So if you can find a 3 somewhere, you won't. But God forbid, or God willing, you find a 3 somewhere, please bet the Niners. It's a good bet. But besides that, I think I'm perfectly content with sitting back and watching this game and enjoying some entertainment value.
Yeah, the 49ers defense and Patrick Mahomes in that offense, that's kind of the storyline of this game. 49ers offense, though, averaging 25.5 points per game at home. Chiefs averaging the first in the NFL, 34 points per game on the road. And Kansas City is 4-1 straight up in their last 5 games against San Francisco. So something to keep in mind. The Chiefs know that they need to keep pace with the Bills here. They know they need to win. If they lose 2 weeks in a row, they ain't doing that very well. So it's going to be an interesting game. I'm excited to watch it. One of the other ones I'm excited to watch is Seattle Seahawks taking on the Chargers. This game is going to be a shootout, in my opinion. The Chargers, the favorites here, almost by a touchdown. They're looking for their 4th straight win. They barely got by the Broncos last week. They didn't really finish their long drives. Their only touchdown was Austin Eckler. The Seahawks, though, they got a defense, apparently. Last week, they stopped the Cardinals. They got the win. They held them to 9 points. I don't know how that happened. I don't know when that happened, because the story of the year for the Seahawks has been Geno Smith. Right now, Jared, he's completing just under 75% of his passes. He's thrown for 9 touchdowns through 6 weeks. Is there going to be regression, or is this a spot where, hey, Seattle's like, our defense is playing decent. We can maybe hold the Chargers with the way that their offense is playing right now, and then Geno Smith will get it done on the offensive side.
Yeah, I don't know about this game, to be perfectly honest with you. Let me look at the Chargers injury report. So you got the Chargers coming off short rest. You got the Seahawks coming off of you're right. Especially when you look at what Arizona did on Thursday night offensively. Pretty impressive performance. Looks like the Chargers are relatively healthy. Keenan Allen's the big one, questionable with a hamstring injury. His status seems to be questionable every week. Corey Linsley had an illness this week. Also, I guess not on the injury report, but we'll see how he plays. Oh, yeah, that's right. Food poisoning. I remember we talked about that on Playbook. Food poisoning for Corey Linsley.
The worst.
So he's going to play, but I'll be honest, I would expect less than 100%. I don't know if you've ever had food poisoning, but that can be a struggle. Everyone else looks
it takes a while to come back from that.
Absolutely. Couple of injuries to the Chargers offense as well. Parham, Palmer, wide receiver, tight end, also out. So I would say if Keenan Allen's out and Palmer, Parham, Linsley still banged up, you got the left tackle Slater, of course, done for the year. I think we could start to legitimately poke some holes in this Chargers offense. And what did they score? 16 against Denver last week. And I know, they won the game and it was fortunate special teams play and overtime. But let's be honest, that game was trending over in the first half. I know, I bet the over. LJ over there had the under. And then all of a sudden it was just, I don't think anyone scored a touchdown in the second half. I think it was all field goals. So I can make a case that this Chargers offense is maybe not as explosive as we think. Now, on the other side, you're right. It's been all sunshine and rainbows for our boy Geno Smith. Would I expect regression at some point from the absurd level he is playing at? I think that's fair to say. But there's also a part of me that really likes the vibe in Seattle right now. So I think on short rest, the Chargers, this game is in Seattle? No, it's in LA. All right, so that makes it a little bit more favorable for LA. They don't have to travel on short week up to Seattle, which is a tough place to play. But let's just leave it at this. I would not want to lay points with this Chargers offense right now. I think it's a fair take to win the game, but listen, you're laying over a field goal, and it's a high total game, so you'd expect there to be points. So I guess it's fair to say that they could cover that number. But I don't really trust this Chargers offense a whole lot right now. And I think I'd be a little weary to have to rely on them to win this game, cover the number, score enough points to hit the over. But man, Geno, if Geno goes down to LA today and plays well and continues this streak, I mean, half the season's almost over. I mean, it's hard to say that it's an anomaly at this point. So, me, Team Geno all the way. Team Geno.
I may or may not be betting this game for my best bet of the day. So that's a little teaser for my POD. Speaking of teasers, it's time for teaser time. Jared, who's the teaser of the week?
Yeah, so a couple options here. I wrote up a teaser for the column this week, and it was Raiders to 1 from 7-1 against the Texans at home. And then I moved the Patriots from 8-2. And I thought that was a good teaser. You can still bet that teaser. You can go bet it right now. The numbers haven't moved. And I think it's a good teaser. This morning I woke up, and one of the bookmakers that I chat with on a weekly basis, Zach Lucas, the does a great job helping me out with the futures column every week. He texted me 2 bets. One of them we'll get to in a minute. The other one was Colts. And again, we talked about this Colts game. I'm not quite there on the Colts winning or covering, but I think getting the Colts from 2.5 to 8.5 is a pretty decent teaser spot. Low total game, divisional game. It's been a close rivalry. Even though I'm a little skeptical, I think the Colts are the right side, the sharper side, quote unquote. I'm a little skeptical on them covering, but I'm much less skeptical on them covering a teaser. So let's put the Colts in there. And I'll be honest, the reason why I wanted to add a second teaser this week is because that Broncos line flipped. And now we're getting a very favorable teaser opportunity with the Broncos from 1.5 to 7.5. So bet the Raiders and the Patriots teaser. That one's already locked in for me. But I added a second teaser this morning just for you guys on LBI. The LBI teaser of the week. Colts to 8.5 and the Broncos to 7.5. Have fun.
Yeah, I like it. Teaser time. Now it's time to go to superbooksports.com. Let's bet it. Presented by Superbook Sports. Go to superbook.com or download the app today. And this season, we are rooting for safeties drawed. That's because Superbook will give you a $50 bonus on each safety scored this season. All you have to do, place a $100 pregame bet on any spread, any total, and if there's a safety scored in any game on Sunday, you get a $50 bonus. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. The best book out there, superbook.com. All right, let's get into the Pickswise.com 3-star play of the day, and then our best bets of the day. Who do we got on the site for the 3-star?
AO's chiming in. He did a fantastic job last week. He picked the Falcons, and they won outright. How about that over the Niners? And he's been really good at underdogs and unders this year. And he's got 2 dogs for you on the site today, a couple of 3-star plays for you. Howard Bender's got some picks as well, and then Tyler Mortimer as well with some hockey. So we got NFL, we got NHL, and yeah, that's our 3-star looks today.
3-star play of the day. Speaking of our plays of the day, I'll let you go first. I know you're very passionate about this Jags bet, and we do have a swag bet on this heading into the next week. And I may or may not have to wear a Penn State hat, which, by the way, that energy at Penn State last night looked wild. It was great.
All right. First of all, it's a real shame that we had to waste the whiteout on Minnesota. And we couldn't do the whiteout next week for Ohio State. And that's all because of Fox. Thank you, Fox, for making that game at noon. Oh my God. Don't even get me started on that. That game should be at 9. Yeah, but it sucks the energy right out of the place because that game should be primetime whiteout. But I digress. Yeah, so just to confirm, you are sticking with your money line play for this as our wager for the swag bet?
Absolutely, I am.
You're a bold
Absolutely,
one.
I am.
You are a bold one. I'm laying it with the Jags.
You gotta do it big.
I mean, listen, I think this is I think you got a little too cocky here with your swag bets. And I think this is the week that it finally comes back to bite you. But that's okay. We'll see. We'll let it play out on the field. So this was the best bet of the week. My 3-star play. This is the only bet that I've really been really excited about this week. And I'm sure the Jaguars will find some way to hurt me at some point in the next few hours, but we'll see how it plays out on the field. Really the point that I want to hammer home about this game, and we can dive into the matchups and the Jaguars offense against the Giants defense, blah, 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 Giants offense, Jags defense, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about that. The part that I want to harp on you here is the market, what the market tells us on a weekly basis in the NFL. And you know me. The matchups are important, and we talk about the matchups and the injuries, and those things matter, and the trends and all those things. Those are fun, but the market is really my bay. I treat the market, and to me, when the market speaks, I listen. And if the Giants win this game today, they will accomplish something that no other team in the NFL has ever accomplished before. And I gave the stat during Playbook. I'll give it to you again here. We're in week 7 of the season, so winning percentages are, a little more stable than they are week 1, week 2, when one win throws your winning percentages off in a crazy direction. But in week 7, it's really after week 5 is where this trend starts to formulate itself. A team with a winning percentage, 8 formalize. That is not a word. Formulate is a word, and we'll go with that. After week 5, a team with a winning percentage of 800 or higher, i.e., the New York Giants, who are 5-1, that is an underdog against the team with a winning percentage of 400 or lower, i.e., the Jaguars, who are 2-4. The team that's the favorite in that specific situation, that has a worse record, significantly worse record, is 9-0 straight up, 8-0-1 against the spread. And my point being, you're looking at the records, you're looking at the teams, and you say 5-1 Giants +3 against 2-4 Jags -3. In your brain, you're like, how can that make sense? How can a team with a 5-1 record be an underdog against a team with a 2-4 record? My point being, in the 9 times it's happened previously, the market has been correct. The team that is favored to win has won. So when the market speaks, I listen. There's plenty of other trends and matchups. Go watch Pickswise Playbook. We dived into the game and what we think both teams are going to do. But in reality, the market to me is telling that the Giants are not going to win this game, and the Jaguars are not only going to win, but also cover. So take that for what it is.
We'll see. We'll see, Jared. So you're laying the points with the Jags this week for your best bet of the day. The thing that worries me about the Jaguars is the fact that they're 3-11 against the spread in their last 14 games, and they're 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 games against NFC East teams. So, and I love the Giants right now. And this is, honestly, this is not...
When were those games, though? Honestly. When were those games against the NFC East? There was one this year. There was one this year. I'm sorry. That trend drives me nuts.
Well, you know, trend are your friend. If you're throwing out the stat schmats, I'm throwing out the stat schmats as well, too. I love the way that this Giants team is playing under Brian Daboll. He has them believing that they are a really good football team, even though I don't necessarily think they have that many talented pieces besides Saquon Barkley. To be honest with you, he's coaching them 12 out of 10. They believe in themselves. They believe in the team. And I said this last year too, Jared, like never underestimate a team with some motivation and with some belief in them. We see a lot of teams go on these runs that are like they're playing so stinking well and they don't necessarily have the pieces, but they do have the belief. And so I love the Giants. I'm all about the Giants. I'm all about them being an underdog, and I'm getting them plus money on the money line. Let's go. We're betting this game straight up, back to back for a swag bet. But I like your play of the day. I do. My play of the day, I'm hoping for a shootout, an absolute shootout between the Seattle Seahawks and the LA Chargers. I talked a little bit about this game before. Both teams have decently strong offenses. I have a little less belief in the Chargers offense after last week, but the Seahawks are averaging 356 yards per game and also the 8th most in the NFL points per game with 24.3. Chargers are averaging the 7th most yards per game in the league at 374 and the 11th most points per game at 23.5. I feel like this game is going to be a shootout because Seattle's defense, other than last week against the Cardinals, hasn't really been good. I feel like that's kind of like the outlier, the exception. They're second to last in the league in points per game. They're giving up 27.2, and the Chargers aren't much better. They're 7th worst in the league in giving up points per game, 25.2. The over has gone 4-2 in the last 6 games of these two teams. And Geno Smith right now is just absolutely on fire. He's completing just under 75% of his passes on the season. He's thrown for 9 touchdowns. There might be a little regression. I don't know, but at this point, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Geno Smith. I like the over 50.5. Lock it in, baby. Let's go. It's going to be a fun Sunday fun day, Gerard. That's it for us today. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. That's Jared Smith. I'm Lauren Jabara. We'll see you guys tomorrow to wrap up Week 7 of NFL. Let's get it. Let's bet it.